Hey, welcome again to Shootin' It with Samuel G, which says you found your way to the Tribune website and the link up to this little segment. That's more than I can usually do in 1 week, so you're doing good at this point. We're going to talk first about the University of Northern Colorado women's volleyball team camp, which we're going to call Camp Palooza. You want volleyballs? They're all over the place. There's a string of them from Bank of Colorado Arena to the Greeley Rec Center. In fact, there's more volleyballs laying around than there are emojis or minions, whatever those are. I haven't figured that out yet. But what a great event. A great way for high school teams to come and refine their skills, and of course to scout other teams. And if you're a team out of the region, you're going to see teams from other regions that you might play in a state playoff, get a preseason glimpse of what you might expect down the line. And also, as we'll report later next week, what a big moneymaker for the University of Northern Colorado women's volleyball team. Lindsay Oates knows how to make a buck and pay her assistants. This is the biggest camp that happens on UNC's campus, and what great exposure not only for the school, but for the athletic department. And that just leads us to, we're almost through July now, heading to August, and that just opens up great preseason workouts for all of our prep teams. And as you know, if you don't spend the summer months preparing for September, you're going to be nowhere come October, November, and December. You're going to be on the sidelines looking out because there's nothing to do if you're not in the playoffs, and now it's a year-round sport, and that's why these camps are so important. And speaking of UNC and camps, let's talk about what they do off the court. The women's basketball team, ranked in the top 12 in the country in grades. Hey, these gals are getting it on in the classroom as well as on the basketball court. Cami Etheridge inherited a pretty bunch of good kids, and I'll tell you what, they are putting up the grades in the classroom, and you'll read about that in the upcoming week of the Tribune. These girls really know how to make the epitome of student-athlete come forward. Let's go to the national scene where Demarius Thomas signed a gazillion-dollar contract this week with the Denver Broncos, and good for him. Does he deserve it? Absolutely. We're both teams, both sides kind of jabbing each other all week. Absolutely. It's part of the game, folks. It's called bottom line. It's money. And of course, Demarius Thomas gets X amount of money over X amount of years. We're not even going to give you those amounts because they don't matter. Look at the guaranteed amount. Over $40 million guaranteed in his hip pocket. $40 million, that'll feed mama coming home from prison in about 3 months real well. I think that's a good homecoming for her. Demarius Thomas, of course, really deserving of that contract. Actually, the highest paid Bronco ever when you come to think about it, and a guy who has well represented the organization, the state of Colorado, and of course everybody in the NFL. He's one of the good guys that's in the league. Let's go nationally to ESPN. They've now told Keith Olbermann he's not wanted back. Come on, ESPN. Go back to who put you on the map. It was Keith Olbermann and Dan Patrick, and now you're getting rid of a guy who came back, was giving your network some more credibility, and in my opinion, the most informed, well-spoken person on the planet when it comes to any subject. Don't kid yourself. MSNBC is biting itself right now in the you-know-what for letting him go several years ago. Olbermann will pop up somewhere else. He'll create problems. We all know he's a pain in the you-know-what to work with. But when you're as good as he is, it doesn't make any difference. He brings viewers to the screen, and that's what it's all about. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the British Open. You know, the golf tournament that's taking place over in Scotland. Well, isn't it awesome to look at the British Open on television and see the fairways are green all of a sudden? They're not brown. They don't look like a parking lot on South 8th Avenue. I think the people in Scotland have finally discovered something that works for them. It's called fertilizer. They have now made the fairways and the greens green, and this Open looks at least a little bit like some of the game maybe that was invented there, but is played here. Now, what a tournament it is, and I will just tell you that Dustin Johnson is tearing it up, and at some point today he was 10 under, and of course the wind, the rain, and the cold, which goes along with playing in Britain, just tearing everything up, and he is really putting up numbers on the board, and I think he's going to be hard to catch unless he gets swept away by one of those crosswinds that's got everybody's hats blown off and their jackets flying in every which direction. But let's get to another part of that. Paul Azinger, shut up, please. He took upon himself this week as an analyst for golf, which all of them kind of do, to rip on Tiger Woods. In fact, called him a middle-of-the-pack hack. Thanks, Azinger, for the rest of us who play golf on a semi-regular basis and are middle-of-the-pack type players. A hack? Tiger's hardly a hack. Is he the Tiger of old? Absolutely not. But Azinger, let's start really realizing, what did you do in your career? If I really go back and look, I think you won one major tournament in your career, and that was when you chipped in from a sand trap. Tiger has quite a few majors to his credit. Certainly he's not the player he once was. Don't think he'll ever be. But calling him a middle-of-the-pack hack? No, hack is you, Azinger. Shut up and just broadcast the rest of the tournament. Well, It's really, like I said, it's Dustin Johnson's tournament to win, and of course he's got England's Danny Willett on his tail, and Jordan Spieth, who was -5 midway through the second round when the rains all came on Friday. And don't count him out, because this kid is hot. He's on a roll. He knows how to play. He knows how to play under pressure, and that's something that Johnson kind of succumbed to in the U.S. Open that he gave up to Spieth. But this could be a two-man horse race come Sunday, and if the weather will hold up, we'll have a great finish on Sunday afternoon. And if you've watched already, you know what I'm talking about. Well, now you're going to know that, as always, I got a lot of work to do, like everybody else in this room. And you know how I can tell? I think an emoji or a minion is tweeting my Twitter, whatever that means. I'll see you next week.